I want to start with soft plastic jerkbaits because it's a phenomenal bait, and it has been for me for a long time. How many people fish soft plastic jerkbaits or flukes? Show of hands. Okay, good. About half the room. And they are one of the best baits that you can throw to cover the zones of fishing. To cover the zones of fishing. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the zones. What am I talking about?
Top of the water column.
Yep.
Bottom of the water column and the bottom.
There you go. Look at that. How old are you?
15.
Bro, you're smart. 15 years old. The levels of water, the water column, right? From the top to that mid-depth to the bottom. It's an amazing bait at covering those three zones, depending on how we rig it. It's a pretty unique bait, because if you look at a lot of other bait categories, you don't have that versatility there, right? You know, a top water stays on the top, a crankbait dives to 10 foot, you know, a heavy jig drags the bottom. But this soft jerkbait, depending on how we rig it, is very easy to modify on the fly and to change like that with terminal tackle. Just little tiny trinkets and tidbits that we're going to add to this thing to make it change the zones from top to bottom. And when I'm in search mode, that's my mindset. Always, my mindset is what's the level of the fish, right? What's the level of the fish? And we're going to figure out what zone they're in. Are they feeding at the top of the water column, right? Subsurface and surface? Are they suspended, feeding and living in the middle of the water column? Or are they on the bottom, toward the bottom, feeding on the bottom? And we're going to be able, with this bait, to cover all these zones. So let's start with the top. And this is the way that most of you guys know how to fish a soft fluke jerkbait, is what I call that top zone, which is surface and subsurface, okay? And I want to show you a couple rigging methods here to help with that, okay? So let's start with the hook. And a lot of these baits, whatever brand you throw, a lot of these baits are 4 to 6 inches long, right? 4 to 6 inches long. They got a semi-thick body, and they all end in either a paddle or a fork-style tail. There are a lot of these baits are similar. Doesn't matter what brand you throw. And because of that body, that thickness, I'm going to go with a 4 or a 5/0 offset or extra wide gap, depending on the thickness of that body, right? So if you look at, that's a havoc bait called the jerk. That's a little bit thinner body, so I'd go with just an offset there, regular offset. And that's a power bait, jerk shad, little thicker body. I'd step up to the extra wide gap there. Think about the thickness of the body when you're picking your hook style. The thinner the body, the thinner the gap on that hook. The thicker the body, the more you want to get a bigger gap. But a 4 or 5/0 offset hook, and when I'm fishing it near the top, and you're going to hear this over and over in this seminar, talking about these little components making a big difference, right? It's the other thing I love about this style of fishing, soft jerkbaits. There's no big investment, right? If we had Aaron Martins up here talking about swim baits, right? He'd be up here showing you these swim baits that are like as long as his shoe.
That's big.
That's big. Yeah, he's got big feet. And, you know, he'd be up here showing you these different swim baits that are that big, and they all cost like $300 each. You know what I mean? And to change to those swim baits, it's a big ordeal, cost-wise. He'd be up here like, oh, man, this swim bait out in California, man. Oh, it's the best. Oh, man, you got to see the way it glides in the water, man. Whew. Man, I love to run. Yeah, and that banana thing, I don't believe it, man. I eat bananas all the time. I keep bananas in my boat. See my toes? See my toes? And before long, you'd be like, what's he talking about? You know what I mean? But unlike Aaron and his toes and the swim baits, a lot of little stuff, the little tiny terminal tackle, the little components are going to make a big difference. So when I want to keep this bait near the top,
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.